So we are reaching now the final panel. So I would like to ask Lin and Jochen also to switch on cameras and then we use the next 20 minutes to reflect on what we've learned and give a little bit of an outlook on what we see. Jochen, you're still with us?
I'm there. I'm just not allowed to open my camera because you deactivated it.
I did. Oh no.
Or you or someone in your in your surrounding.
We see you. All good.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
So, yeah, let's reflect on what we've learned and talk a little bit about how we see the future for ESG and solar. So, let me start maybe with what we asked last year. This is our third sustainability event, and last year the panel started with the opening question: if the solar industry was doing enough when it comes to sustainability, and the answer was overall that we can probably do more, but we're moving in the right direction. So 1 year later, how has the solar industry progressed in its sustainability efforts over the last year? So if I look at what we've seen here, what Martin showed with his project, how the SSI is developing, I think that's quite a bit. So maybe just a brief assessment how he's looking at things. Maybe Jochen first. You started.
I'm just I just indicated you will have to assign that. Gladly, I try to be brief. Well, yes, I think, and thanks for this dense and rapid fire program, right? Really, really cool things, and very glad to see all that progress, both on here the sustainability criteria for projects, the producers, both of them showing impressive progress, finance, how they integrate it in their assessment and recycling and more broader circularity. All of this is, I think, great progress. The and ISS, of course, the SSI, the stewardship initiative as well. My concern is only when this is all driven by that sustainability, the high attention, the high political priority that sustainability had, yeah, and now we see how industry has responded. So the question is, are we now at the peak? And from now on, we're rolling back, we're going down. That's obviously the elephant in the room and the danger that these efforts that have materialized were pushed also politically, but also from a consumer recognition, an ESG finance topic that currently in the debate is partly in some countries almost not existent anymore. Yeah, and there is an active pushback from populist politicians, but also in the media and so on. So how can we now? For me, the new question is now how can we carry on and capture the benefits, also the financial benefits, all the project development benefits, all these benefits from all these achievements of the recent years, and how can we make the case that keeping on that road and maintaining these advantages, is absolutely essential, not least for the resilience of the sector.
Lynn?
I think it's going to be very interesting for me to either answer your questions or Jochen's questions, but I try to reflect based on my industry expertise. From JinkoSolar point of view, or maybe I will just leave my hats alone, I think the critical key successful factor is actually providing the sustainable products available to the market. So when we talk about whether or not there is achievements or progress related to sustainability in solar, it's about the products which is reliable, available to the market, whether or not it is better. I believe the answer is positive. We did have a lot of practice cover all our internal practices, our operations, but also our supply chain, meaning the conversation we had with our upstream and downstream suppliers give us a better understanding of the ecosystems. Then the products we are presenting here is not pure just 1 meters times 2 meters long rectangular solar panel, but the concept that we are taking care of the products we deliver to the clients in a way that information's attached, the technology expertise, technology advantage attached to the products are make it also transparent to the client and sometimes to even further to the whole ecosystem. I don't know if I give you a couple of insights which is relevant to the questions you posed early. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Guido?
So of course I agree with everything which has been said by Jochen and Lin. I mean, there's only two things which I can add there, right? I mean, one of the things is that that I continue to observe is the significant steps that the industry has been taking in terms of transparency and sustainability throughout the entire supply chain. So there, I'm really impressed by the continuous improvement that also particularly suppliers are doing, reaching all the way to, you know, everything from modules to mine basically today. I mean, we start to see, and then I find this incredibly encouraging. Now, I think one of the challenges is actually we see a number of leading players in the market that have very sophisticated ESG systems today, and this is valid both on the supply side as well as on the project side and developer side. The questions for me very often, particularly working with small sponsors in small markets or sometimes smaller suppliers, is actually how can you actually make it so that these standards become widespread and they also reach out to the relatively small players in the industry.
Okay. Yeah, let's
If I may?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry,
I think
Michael. A very quick echo to what just Guido mentioned because I think it's relevant. It's also a very important task for us to think about whether or not such positive spillover effect can help the entire industry build better. A very interesting practice now going on within all the suppliers basically active in China is called GSSA, Global Solar Sustainability Alliance. So it is a proposal not solely presented by Jinko, but rather the industry from the perspective as a complementary practice to SSI. Let's give you an example because it's still very early stage and Jinko is part of this leading parties for this alliance advocacy. So we trying to gather small, medium-sized industry players along solar supply chain because for SSI, I believe it's vertically integrated into silicon supply chain, but we wanted to include it more, for instance, glass, conjunction, inverters, etc. Those suppliers, will they be well taken care of ESG considerations or not? This is also a common question being raised. So GSSA may potentially provide the solutions for the audience who are still excited to or interested to see in the future. Could be a new way to help us bring it up to a higher level of harmonizations on global sustainabilities in a way that SSI and GSSA can collaborate to form a better framework together. We will see. But I'm not saying that on behalf of promoting GSSA, but by rather mentioning could be a solution attached or to the current solution that we focus on. It's relevant to Guido's comments, but I stop here. Thank you.
But maybe if we stay here, because in the end, okay, the question is, have we reached the almost the top because we have now these adversary conditions that Jochen mentioned, or are we forging ahead? Because also what we saw was Martin was showing, it was great that we were seeing gigawatts in Spain that are using his scheme, but of course, much more has been installed. And even if we look at the pipeline, there's also a lot of systems that are not using that scheme. So there's probably a reason because there is more cost involved. It is more difficult. And of course, this is Spain, which is a very positive example. We don't have so many other countries which have such schemes yet. So how can we make sure that in this environment that we are, where we don't get the policy support, actually it's often rather confusing because sometimes it's that way or it's that way, and there's all these discussions going on. And of course, also if you look at different countries, and regions, it's very different. How can we push that forward also and bring in maybe another layer into that? It's it's not only the policy, because it's also the economical situation. I think we have record low prices in the sector. We have still the overcapacity that's haunting us, especially the manufacturers. So how can we move the project further and develop that? And I think the financing sector probably plays here also an important role, because if you stay stringent, then companies, if they want to have your money, actually they have to stay on course, right?
Yeah, no, I tend to agree, but actually we shouldn't hide from the fact that basically we may see, if not a U-turn, but basically a slowing on a policy direction is going to create problems, in a sense that actually regulation is surely one of the biggest driver. Indeed, later on, I mean, in absence of policies from national governments, I mean, and this is the situation which I'm seeing very often when I'm working in countries, for instance, outside the Eurozone or things like that. I mean, then the role of financial institution, the role particularly of multilateral institution, not only the financial one, can also be key in order to maintain and demand standards. Another big driver is going to be, of course, a demand on a consumer side. So I think there are more drivers that basically can push sustainability forward. I think and I believe that actually, as far as solar is concerned, is also part of its own value proposition. So there will also be a push on the supply side that maybe we don't see in other industries. But at the same time, I mean, I will continue to share your concern on what may happen if basically we see a significant reversal of policies, particularly from actors like European Union, that, I mean, we shouldn't hide, have been on the lead in this regard worldwide for the past 10 to 20 years.
That said, and I would say what we now should not end up with is saying policies should be different. I mean, and just say, well, if we don't have the framework, then we can't do anything, because I think we can do a lot. Industry, finance can do a lot by maybe cutting through the noise a bit and say, look, what the reaction is against is mostly an over-bureaucratization, an overburden, or a factual or felt overburden of reporting requirements and nitty-gritty data stuff that many organizations feel overwhelmed by. So if we would find solutions how to do this more effectively, right? And obviously I'm alluding to the AI revolution. That would be one way of countering part of the headwind we're getting, and say, yes, you're right, it got too far a bit, but we have solutions. And B, maybe, as both of you are indicating, we don't have to go deeper in terms of now let's just do even more precise, because we have reached a great level. If we now roll it out geographically, Guido, I think that was your term, your point, right? Rather go take this from Spain, what we have seen, a great example, and take it to, I don't know, Nigeria, or I don't know, any other country that you might be working with, or what Lin said. You're taking it from what the silicon value chain is managing to do and taking the other. So great. Neither of these requires now more stringent policies. Yeah, both of these can be done with the current policies. Yeah, minus some of the effort on the reporting side, because we're getting smarter on how to report it effectively and efficiently, right? And then we can say, yeah, that's great. We don't need more. We don't need to go deeper. Yeah, but we obviously also need to avoid a rollback in terms of taking it down. And the bad example of European politicians bad-mouthing and down-talking, or US politicians, it obviously is not helpful in a rollout, either geographically or in the value chain. So here we need other leaders to step up, financial leaders, industry leaders, because we can't realistically expect it from the political leaders anytime soon. Let's face it. So my resilient strategy is shift the discourse more to the finance and industrial leaders, emphasizing the financial and the local value of all these achievements of the past, and then just keep going, rolling it out in value networks and in landscapes. and not even worry too much about the rhetoric of some of the political leaders.
But we do have also, for example, both on the supply and the demand side, also drivers these days, right? Because if we look at overcapacity, sustainability is also a way of differentiating. And I think the small guys cannot do that. And there's anyway an urge to also from the Chinese government to consolidate the sector somewhat. And have rather the leaders drive the industry forward. On the other hand, of course, we're seeing with many countries turning conservative, populist, also a lot of action against renewables. So that means sustainability, inclusion of locals, communities, actually also helps the case. So that means there are also inherent motivators, right?
Absolutely, and that's what we need to build on. So rather than yelling to populist politicians who are not going to listen in the first place, because they are already set on they want their click numbers in their bubbles, and they're not going to respond to you in any fashion. So we're wasting our time and energy. So we should build on those things where the sustainability policies that were triggered also by more forward-looking politicians in the past. See what now has arrived, show how this creates local value, how this creates broader value for society and environment, for biodiversity, for value creation, show how it helps smaller players not maybe only to differentiate with a green argument, because that might not really work so well in the current climate, but rather show how this reduces their cost base, how it makes them better suppliers, and help them strengthen their position in the value chain by creating the transparency, which also has a different advantage in being integrated in a transparent supply chain, that can help their operations, quite frankly. So we can de-green the conversation a little bit, if that is what is politically or from a media point of view not selling so well, and make it more a local value creation, resilient supply chain firmness, and I think we can roll with that. But we still need leadership from big figures. And that's why some of the corporate leaders or the financial leaders need to step in, if Ursula von der Leyen has to watch her tongue because she has a right-wing majority in the European Parliament, well, okay, maybe somebody else has to take the microphone now, who doesn't have to care that much, and we need to help her and others who care about this by motivating our CEOs to ramp it up a notch, rather than politely hide and ask for framework conditions that would somehow manage it again. They won't. We need to be honest.
And from my side, Michael, back to your questions, also echo to what Jochen said. From business point of view, two elements which is very interesting to share upon as well. First of all, even though we're talking about overcapacity, interestingly enough, the high technology with the low carbon technology products are always preferred, and they're always short of supply. Meaning, when we offer the latest technology with an attachment enhanced on ESG performance, low carbon traceability, those are favored by the clients. So for us, it's not, of course, at the peaking point that everything about the traceability trends will go down, but rather it's a new milestone that we need to achieve even higher, bigger, more ambitious target. We are trying to, let's say, 3-4 years ago, we closed the deal bilaterally with clients by asking question, JinkoSolar, can you tell us your forced labor practice for your factory A and B and C? Because we're dealing a project with MDB, they ask questions about due diligence. And now I take a look of our activities. It almost covers 100% of our facilities, regardless which banks or clients ask the similar questions. Now we are taking one step even further to our supply chain. So I think I'm quite positive, let's say confident by answering your question. The way that we see here, with or without the intervention from the political era, will still, let's say, for Jinko and big figures that we're still trying to invest not only but also the technology and sustainability efforts to safeguard this industry, because we do believe and we trust that energy can drive and make it a difference for the climate transition. Well, I bring it a little bit to a bigger scope, but that's the point I want to share. So one, practically speaking, good products are still wanted. So that drives us to further. Two is that regardless which, that we are trying to build a more equally friendly systems.
Yeah, cool. And I think Jinko has been also the leader. You were the first going actually in TOPCon mass production, so to higher efficiencies and adapt new technologies, bringing it to that level. And you did a lot. You know, were, I think if I'm right, but I think you were the first one also going RE100 and
Yes, we did
a lot of these things. If you look at all what you have done actually regarding sustainability, ESG, and you try to reflect on that, what would you do different, and what's maybe actually to focus on to bringing it to the next level?
Well, it's a very interesting question. So we won't think about if we will have a chance to do it, what else we will do differently. I think we were trying to do it faster in a more effective way to engage with more different stakeholders. If we bring all of you back to 5 years ago, we didn't barely start anything to call it an ESG system or ESG strategy. But look at now, with all this recognition, positive received from different stakeholders, we believe we did a good job. So if you ask me the questions, if we can anticipate sustainability is going to be a big topic around the table that we are now sharing our perspectives, we can start even faster, we can start even stronger efforts within highlights on that protection activities. So this is the first questions that I wanted to ask you about if we to rethink the future. And then for future, the past, if we talk about future, what we can do in a way that will help the industry build a better and more sustainable ecosystem is trying to engage, just as you say, to different harmonized standards with different stakeholders and bringing our supply chain partners together. We are now only talking about big companies, solar module manufacturer here, the presenters from myself and also from JinkoSolar, for instance, early today we have. But we also are curious to see what are the middle-sized and smaller-sized distributors and panels installers and even other materials producers, their activities. We are curious to know. And then those performance will be added and included into the conversation with topic rethinking ESG in solar can give a better future confidence, let's say, to the industry.
Okay, cool. I think we're coming closely to an end. Maybe everyone actually, it would be nice if everyone could give towards something like a policy recommendations, a key policy recommendation for driving sustainability forward also. So what's needed? Is it actually, I don't know, better standardization? We had all these different certification schemes. What is it? What the solar sector needs? Also, taking into consideration that we're quickly growing, the fastest growing segment in the energy sector, but still we're somewhat, I think, have some important regions at the moment stagnating. So how can sustainability help us drive things actually also to the next level? So a policy recommendation and also maybe some advice to actors in this segment, industry actors, what they should do to bring sustainability to the next level and also take a leading role there. Maybe once, Guido?
Maybe I'll take this first. And so basically I have two answers here. So the first one is that going back to what we were saying earlier on also with Jochen and Lin, in a context in which actually we see that there are less policies and policies are not being driven by governments, then it's really fundamental that the industry moves forward in what concerns certification scheme, certification standards. These are two values. One is setting standard for the industry itself, is making it easier for people, and two, it's also going to be a significant step towards helping smaller players to abide by the same standards, right? When you have certification schemes, when you have a third-party independent certification, your investment decreases significantly, and there is also a possibility to basically make this a lot more inclusive. The second recommendation is actually then going towards the financial institution, but this is already happening. So basically all of these performance standards I was discussing about were basically drafted like 15 years ago, and they are now in a process of being updated more and more, and they are also adapting to the new technologies, to the new sectors, to the new problems that are coming up, particularly when it comes to supply chain. So not only RSC, but also other financial institutions are readapting their standards, their requirement for projects, and in a way I hope that also this is going to compensate for policies that are lacking currently all over the world.
Jochen? You have to unmute.
Yes, I'm working on it. Yes, great. My first impulse was I have no policy recommendation. I focus it all on the business. But then again, that would be A, not answering your question right, and B, also a bit maybe too pessimist about policymakers, because there's obviously still that can be done. So my key request to all policymakers is keep the targets, no rollback, and help us become improve the way that the current targets are being achieved. And here, that's where the bureaucratization and mostly digitalization would be the key ask. Help, roll out digitalization to the energy sector, for example. I'm coming from a country, Germany, where we have a smart meter rollout of 3%. 3%. Yeah, and we have been talking about it for 20 years. Now, how is this helping solar? Well, there's many things that we can do if we can steer and have transparency, and if we can increase the flexibility in grids. And another digitalization effort would be helping the transparency in reporting, in showing all the good things that also good plans can do. So focus more on the implementation of it. Keep the targets, the ambitious targets. You don't have to make them stronger, but help and debottleneck implementation of sustainability and solar penetration. That would be the policy question. And to the industry, I would say, and this is going back to my presentation this morning, move and enhance the sustainability lens with the lens of resiliency. Think that uncertainty will persist, political uncertainty, geopolitical uncertainty, and think how can you, in such an environment, stabilize and actually improve your sustainability performance. And for that, you need the framework of resiliency. You need to think, how do we factor in impacts that will come? How do we make our technologies also climate resilient? That would be another question I would have to Guido for another panel, is how financial organizations are factoring in, midterm and longer term climate modeling, insurability, and so on into their financial models. I think there's a whole world of pain to unpack there. But we bring this another time. Yeah, so think resiliency. My motto for the last years or so, last 2 years that I have that on my LinkedIn profile. I think that is what industry and finance and insurance and society at large need to now think about.
Okay, thanks, Jochen.
And if I may, I have one key word, because I'm not from the best positions to give policy recommendation. Dialogue is what I expected from the business point of view. Dialogues means that conversations like the one you organize, Michael. So bringing different stakeholders come here and to talk about and discuss critical topics and share some of different perspectives. And then also dialogues bring us trust. when some of, let's say, a couple of years ago, when you talk about solar industry, talk about ESG and sustainability, people are worried. People are worried because they read news from NGOs, they from academia, and then talking about industry. And then the industry thinks, okay, then we need to take actions and present what we have delivered and we achieved and progress. So far, we think it's good because we have different channels to present our performance with different dialogues that we formed. Conversations are very being shared, exchanged. The message are actually a good way for us to understand the tangible progress in terms of our activities inside industry. So that's my takeaway for a very short answer to your questions. Thanks, Michael.
Okay, super. Thanks to all of you. I think that was very insightful. Let me just conclude. A few more slides. First, let me say thank you to the audience for staying 4 hours with us. Thanks to the speakers, thanks to the panelists, and obviously also to our sponsor. Thanks to the team. And just a few announcements for our coming events. Next week, we will have an event on advanced solar module applications. So we will talk about high efficient modules, but also wherever they can also be used. It will be about BIPV, about vehicle integrated photovoltaics, wherever you can do it. So we think about how to get solar into the different environments. We will have another event at the beginning of November. This will be a physical event in Munich, which we do together with ICO. It will be on back contact technology and addresses German installers. Then if you're interested, please get in touch. And then we will also, these are our reports, but before which you can download, which we recently published. But there's also 2 events that were already mentioned. So one is our Solar Sustainability Award. The deadline is tomorrow, and it's not ours, it's the one from Solar Power Europe, where I sit on the jury. We had the last year's winner. We had 2 days speak. There was Solar Materials, so there's still 2 days to apply. And that jury and that award will be given and presented on December 3rd at the Solar and Sustainability Conference in Brussels. So that's an event where something is supposed to happen, what Lin just mentioned, dialogue between the industry, between policymakers and the stakeholders in the field of sustainability in Europe. That's it from my side. Thank you again for joining us. Have a nice morning, Guido. Afternoon, Jochen, and evening, Lin. All the best and see you soon.
Thank you so much. Very, very good program.
Okay. Ciao.
Indeed. Thank you. Bye-bye.